This is crazy to me, but ever after NFL free agency, the Texans have kind of flown under the public's radar, if you would. Last year, they were hyped up as this top 10 Super Bowl contending team with this massive offense after bringing in names like Joe Mixon, Stephon Diggs, and now they kind of have a crazy offseason where they trade a lot of names, replenish a bunch of different positions, including the offensive line. We talked about it all free agency, but today we're going to break down why are the Texans being slept on and how will their future season look. We did kind of a season preview after free agency, but I've seen a lot of just articles and ESPN power rankings to where the Texans are just not as high as I would expect. So if you would hit that sub button before we get started, really appreciate all the support on Texans videos, Texans Digest, going strong. But thank you guys for subbing, being a part of the squad. And let me know your thoughts on any videos you want to see in the future. But right now, I just have to mention the Texans, number 13th in the NFL, according to ESPN. It's definitely not terrible, but I feel like they've dropped off a couple marks, right? This is a team that I would expect to be top 10. Yes, whoever is a non-Texans fan watching, you can implement my bias and say that I don't know what I'm talking about because of the bias, but I still feel like this team is not getting enough credit for where it is supposed to be. Right now, you look at where their Super Bowl odds are, and they are 12th. I'm not expecting them to be top 5. I'm not expecting them to be crazy, but 12th is respectable. I just don't understand why the Packers or the Chargers are ahead of them, especially when we beat the Chargers last year and made Justin Herbert look really silly. Just saying. I don't know. I just feel like just a little minor detail people might have missed. Texans fans, you guys know. But looking at this squad for next season, like there is so much depth on this team. They fixed the offensive line. The main problem there was players not playing together. Laramie Tunsil, a lot of penalties, not really a good leader. They trade him. Big move. Get rid of a lot of salary as well. And then you look at what they got. Yes, they got a lot of veterans, but they replaced the offensive line, and they did it well. The draft is the last step, but still going into this season, it's not terrible. The Texans might not be favorites in the AFC, but the top half of contenders, they are considered last year to win the Super Bowl. This was a team that had a lot of buzz last season, and last year, Greg Jennings predicted the Texans and Lions to be in the Super Bowl together. Could be a year late, be honest. I feel like the Lions had a tough break to the Commanders last year. The Texans are just being this team that people are thinking are a one-and-done wild card exit. But in 2 years, C.J. Stroud has had 2 winning seasons and 2 games where he's won a playoff game in 2 seasons. So that's pretty impressive to me. I mean, looking at this past season where we had a very promising C.J. Stroud rookie year. Yes, it wasn't the best second season. They have since fired Bobby Slowick and got Nick Caley, so there's been a lot of changes and there's been new weapons to look forward to. But I'm just doing kind of a flashback to last year where everyone was looking at this team as monstrosity, right? Yes, Stroud continues to play like this. This is a team that is going to be a contender every single season. I don't care what anybody says. Yes, the Texans have not been anything crazy since 2002 in terms of never making it to an AFC championship. But I feel like this is where the Texans' years are going to be the best. You have the next decade of C.J. Stroud, hopefully if you sign him long term, and then this defense right now might be the best defense of all time in terms of Texans history. So that's a good thing to look forward to. As far as the Texans offense last season, that is why it was hyped up so much. Stroud, Mixon, Diggs, Collins, Dell, Schultz. Dell got hurt. Diggs is gone. Nico's the number 1, and then you have a number 2 in Christian Kirk. But the team got hyped up because of the 2 big names, Mixon and Diggs. Now this season, I feel like people are just like, yeah, the Texans got a few names. They got a couple guys on offensive line. Christian Kirk, he's nothing special. They didn't make any catastrophic moves besides the Laramie Tunsil trade, which everyone outside of the Texans fan base was like, oh, that's a terrible trade. That's your best offensive lineman. Yes and no. I'd love to get rid of him because of the penalties. We talked about how bad Tunsil was for most of my Texans fans. You guys know how bad, not bad, but it's just irritating to watch that guy play on your team, especially when he false starts, especially when he holds guys. It just wasn't the most enjoyable season, if you would. But this was the team last year, and now you look at what we're seeing for this team this season. As far as a potential offense, CJ Stroud, Joe Mixon, Nico Collins, a receiver in the draft, whether that's Kyle Williams, whether that's Emeka Buka if you trade up for him, whether that's Trey Harris of Ole Miss, whether it's whatever, I don't care. Get another wide receiver. I don't even care if it's Justin Watson and you still draft the receiver and you just rotate a few guys out. You got Berrios in there as well. And then here comes the offensive line. You're most likely going to draft a lineman. And this right here doesn't have Trent Brown at right tackle, but I would assume Titus Howard, because he's a better right guard, he's going to play the right guard spot. And if you draft Kelvin Banks, it'll be Kelvin Banks and Blake Fisher on the right tackle side. And then Blake Fisher will either take over for Cam Robinson eventually because he is a second-year guy. But regardless, for some complaints I've seen the offensive line is like, oh, they just got veterans. Yes, that's the point. They're not supposed to be there long-term. They're there to fill the void this season, to do what they can. The Texans draft a tackle and a guard in the draft, and then that's your future. You got to start the guys who know what they're doing. They might not be the best option, but they know what they're doing. They've been through this once or twice. And then you could put the rookie in by mid-season, right? The Texans are very favored to win their division. And I want to show that because a 2.8% chance to win the Super Bowl, you're telling me there's a chance. I mean, you're looking at this team, and honestly, I'm a little disappointed that I can't find it. But the Texans are minus 110 to win their division. And I feel like that's, for odds, that's way too low. The Texans are almost, and I don't want to say this to jinx it, but they really should win that division. The only other team that might be competitive, is the Colts. Because we saw them last year, and I don't believe it with Anthony Richardson. If Richardson is going to be their quarterback, I do not think he is capable of beating the Texans. Realistically, the Texans should sweep the AFC South next season. But I feel like they'll still split a game with the Jaguars, and maybe the Titans might steal one. They shouldn't have won one last year, but this is where the Texans should dominate over the next few years. You have your franchise quarterback in CJ Stroud. You have the team that you need right now. There's not really any crazy players for the long term. The only guys that you really have are Derek Stingley, and this team in general, you're looking at a few players on long-term contracts for multiple seasons, right? And obviously those players on rookie deals that are expiring, you're going to bring back for long-term. But you're planning for the future. Nick Caserio has done an incredible job as to get veterans for the right prices on one-year contracts. One-year contracts, I don't want to see all the overpriced, because one-year contracts are one and done. Cam Robinson on a $14 million contract, that's kind of, it doesn't matter. It's 1 year. Next year, you'll have that money back, right? So Texans still have some free agency money if they want to spend on a wide receiver if they don't get the guy they want in the draft, but they definitely need to address offensive line. I wouldn't even mind a couple weapons in terms of wide receiver, tight end. But let me know your thoughts. I feel like the Texans are really being slept on, and to be 13th and not a top 10 considered team, I feel like most people's thoughts on this team is that, they'll go 9-8, they'll go 10-7, they'll be a very mid team. Right below the Texans, actually, were the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who snuck into the playoffs last year, and that we saw that story. So I feel like the Texans are kind of in a similar spot to where they're going to win their division, they're going to be the 4 seed, and everyone's going to be like, they're not going to win out of the first round. The way that defense is playing, if they can figure out the offense, this is a team that can go deep. And if you're going to try and argue me on that, this is a good team. I feel like it's either you love the team or you're skeptical of the team, or you're just a division rival that hates the Texans, because that's a possibility too. But overall, I'm looking at this team, and I'm not saying Super Bowl just yet, but I will keep them in the conversation, right? You have to consider that when you're thinking about this team. I'm not going to say it just yet. I've been saying conference championship, AFC title. That's all I've been looking for. Now, to win that, you got to go to the Super Bowl. Yes, but it's very possible. Look at what the Commanders did with Jaden Daniels. They didn't have a crazy defense, but the crazy offense got them to the bigger game in the NFC Championship. I think if the Texans just make it to the AFC Championship, that's an accomplishment in itself. The first time they've ever been there. So I feel like that is the expectation for me this season. You guys can tell me I'm crazy. You guys can tell me, back me up, hopefully. But overall, this team, top 10 defense, and I'm expecting that middle of the pack offense last year, number 17 ranked with Bobby Slowick, that is going to jump drastically from middle of the pack to a top 10 offense in the league, scoring around 20 points a game and doing their thing. Right? You got a couple of defenses that slowed you down in terms of the Chiefs, but even against the Chargers game in the wild card, I was not impressed with the offense. The defense did its job. They got multiple turnovers, pick sixes, right? But you can't depend on them to score your points for you, and that's where the firing of Bobby Slowick came in, which I was a little bit thrown off by. It works out. You get a new guy, you get a new weapon. You got an offseason to settle down, figure things out. It's going to be a fun one. And I feel like CJ Stroud is going to man the troops, going to look like he did in his rookie year, back to his phototypical self. A little bit of a chaos situation last year with the offensive line, longer developing plays, Bobby Slowick. But I think this is the year. And I feel like sometimes fans say that every year. I'm really confident in this team, and I feel like they're very much being slept on for anything. I would say they should at least win one playoff game, but I maybe the bias is telling me they should go further. So let me know what you guys think. Try to put your bias aside for 1 second and be like, does this team have a chance to, one, go to an AFC Championship game, or two, potentially go to their first Super Bowl in the next few years? I'm not saying it's this year, but potentially over the next 5-10 years with this man, CJ Stroud, is your franchise quarterback, the Texans definitely have a chance to be one team less of winning a Super Bowl, because there are multiple teams, a lot of teams that do not have a Super Bowl title, and if the Texans can be one team off that list, that would be incredible. But this upcoming season is going to be fun, and I'm telling you, this team should be Super Bowl contending. This team should be a top 10 team in the league. I'm not saying 13's bad, but it seems a little bit disrespectful for the two teams that are ahead of them in terms of the Packers, in terms of the Rams, in terms of the Chargers. Every other team I can see, but I feel like they should be at least top 8, top 10. So that's just me. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Texans' potential Super Bowl run incoming in the next few years? We'll see. For Texans Digest, I'm Mike, and I appreciate you guys watching. Hit that sub button if you're new. Take care.